Now, I focus on the fear. So I'm praying to God about, not about feeling the fear, but being honest. When I say praying, I'm being honest with God about the fear. I don't want to feel this fear. I don't feel it's fair. I'll be honest about my emotions about this fear. You'll find that in itself unlocks something within you. And you'll find different events will occur during the week. Now, when you do this, when an opportunity comes up and the fear is triggered again, allow yourself to experience it in that moment. Right? So, I've got a fear of personal harm. I'm driving along in my car, someone cuts me off, and I get into anger. What have I just done? I've just not allowed myself to feel, in that moment, the fear that I had. You see, by getting angry, you say, oh, you effing idiot, whatever. What am I doing? I'm actually blaming the other person now for the fear they triggered in myself. And I'm not allowing that, I'm not consciously seeing the fear that I have. I'm now just projecting it outwards. That's not what I'm suggesting here. So what I'm suggesting instead is I'm driving along, someone cuts me off, I feel the rage rise in me and that desire to respond. And then I say to myself, I am afraid because of what he did. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And to be frank with you, I'd pull over on the side of the road and just sit with that for 5 or 10 minutes. There's nowhere else your soul needs to be but in that moment, right? So even if you're late for whatever it is that you're driving towards, it's better off spending that 10 minutes or 5 minutes that it takes just to work out what that fear was about. Because right at that moment, you are the closest to that fear. Right at that moment. Can you see why that's the case? Because the law of attraction happened at that moment. You see, it's the law of attraction that happens at the moment that is driven by all sorts of things going on. My emotions at that moment, my thoughts at that moment are all a part of the construction of my law of attraction. So if I pull over at that moment and feel the emotion at that moment, that's the most powerful time I have to connect with this. More powerful than any other time. What most of us do though is we drive home, park in the garage, we go in, there's some things to tidy up with the kids, so we do that. We get the cooking going and we do that and get ourselves ready for bed. And then at 9 o'clock at night, we're going, what in the hell was that emotion again? I can't even remember what it was, right? And then when we try to get to it, it's like, I've got no hope of getting to it now. And so you know what has to happen now? Drive along in a car again, right? It's sort of like Groundhog Day. You've seen that movie? Yeah, I love Groundhog Day. It's a great movie. But there's a lot of principles in that movie that we need to apply. One is, if we keep doing the same thing every day, we're going to get the same result. Another is, if we keep doing things driven out from emotions disharmonious with love, we are going to keep having things not happen the way we would actually desire them in the end to happen. Right? They are really good principles from that movie, I think. And what I would do there is allow myself to stop and pull over and feel the emotion. But now I don't even need to do that. We can be driving along, something happens, and I go straight into tears driving along, right? And I'm quite okay with that. Mary's quite okay with that too now. So we'll be crying along. Sometimes Mary's crying, sometimes I'm crying. So when you drive past our car, sometimes people drive past and they look like, what's going on with them too? Like, they must be having a fight or something. And quite often we're feeling totally different emotions. But yeah, that can happen quite naturally then. And you can be dealing with emotions as you go quite naturally. And we no longer have any anger blockages about dealing with our fears. So in other words, we've finished swearing with God, we've finished swearing at ourselves, and we've now got into this state where we actually do want to feel the emotion of it. Very rapidly after that, you'll feel the grief connected with that fear.